One of my favorite types of anime is the type of anime that makes you feel emotional on some sort of level. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of those slice of life anime that are clearly designed to, hurt you by the end. Sometimes it could be just a shonen that has emotional scenes in it or anything in between that just tells such a good story that by the end it has left some sort of emotional impact on you. And I've noticed that like a lot of people seem to enjoy those types of anime. So today I gathered up 25 of my favorite anime that have that level of emotional impact, ranging from, weeping to just you really felt that. And the further into the list we go, the more like heavy the emotions are. But every single one of the anime on this list are completely worth watching and they leave like a lasting impact on you. Whether or not they're like the best anime could be debated, but they all will leave some sort of emotional impact on you. So, first off is Your Name. Your Name is probably my favorite anime movie ever. It's so beautiful. It's got one of the best soundtracks ever. The soundtrack alone will definitely make you feel something. Then it's got a really good story, great characters, a really good like romance. It's got like a twist or two in it. Overall, it's just one of the best movies I've ever seen, period. Not just an anime movie. And it's just so great because, like, it's not a sad movie, don't get me wrong. But by the end, you're almost sad that the movie's over because it was that beautiful of a ride and it was so enjoyable that there's only good things to say about Your Name. So I wanted to start the list off with a banger like that. Next is Full Metal Alchemist. I don't really have as much to say about Full Metal Alchemist. It's an excellent anime and it has a few scenes in it that are just so emotional. And, I put this one as an example, but, no spoilers or anything, no context, but it's definitely just a super good anime emotion wise. Next is Code Geass. Code Geass is personally like my second or third favorite anime ever. And this one is definitely less on the like sad emotions, but it tells such a great story. And, as you get semi-attached to characters, the things that they go through, you really feel for them, or, you're upset that someone died, whatever. It's a really good story. The way that it's told is excellent. The main character is elite. One of the best main characters I think I've ever seen in an anime. You really understand, like, you feel his emotions, whether he's angry, laughing because he's kind of snapped, or, feeling down because something bad happened. Overall, Code Geass just has elite storytelling, and the ending is one of the best anime endings ever. On an emotional scale, it's like all the way up there because everything just comes together so perfectly that it's just perfect. So wanted to throw that on the list as well. So then there's One Piece. Now, obviously, like, some people don't want to watch One Piece because it's, 900 something episodes. But as far as shonens go, no anime I've watched does backstories and making less than significant characters feel so realistic almost. Like, you'll see a character's backstory and the things that they've been through, and now you understand why they act the way they act. And a lot of the times, even, like the main crew, they have some tragic backstories. Like, these are the type of backstories where you're like, dang, and you really feel it. And, overall, One Piece is already one of the best anime out there. It tells a great story, but emotion wise, like, you can actually feel some things while you're watching One Piece. So then there's Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena. This anime personally is one of my favorites from last year. It kind of ranges, some episodes it's really happy. It's just a nice chill slice of life vibes, whatever. But there are a few episodes in this show where things just get so dark out of nowhere, but not dark in, no, actually, yeah, kind of dark in like a sad type of way, but not always. But those episodes, like, whether or not you feel sad or angry or anything in between, you will feel something by the end of some of the episodes of Wandering Witch. It's really well written. I personally really like Elena as a main character. And then the world she's in is surprisingly dark for such a chill happy looking slice of life anime. Next thing you know, people are dying and it's crazy. But if you want to feel, maybe not crying or anything, but some anger and just seeing some crazy things happen, this is definitely the anime for you. So then we have ReZero. ReZero is probably my first or second favorite anime. And I think emotion-wise, it's all over the place. There are certain episodes where most of the episode is just dialogue, but it's the type of dialogue where if you're paying attention and you're really into the show, it's some deep stuff. Like Subaru has this one speech where he's talking about like how much of a bum he is, and he knows that, and despite wanting to change, he hasn't changed. And he's talking to one of the other characters and they're reassuring him that he's not as lame as he thinks he is. That was a really good episode. And there's a whole bunch of other emotions packed into ReZero because of Return by Death. The fact that Subaru can like come back after his deaths leads to, oh my gosh, like every emotion. You've got insanity, depression, everything. So ReZero is definitely worth watching. Then there's Angel Beats. So Angel Beats is almost like the emotional isekai. Like it's technically an isekai, but it's like an isekai set in the afterlife, which I thought was like a pretty nifty thing to watch. It's only one season, you could binge it in a day. And because it's an isekai set in the afterlife, when you start to see some of these character stories, how they ended up dead, how they ended up there, that's when the emotions start to hit. And then the climax of the story, or maybe not the climax, but the conclusion to the story also hits pretty emotionally. I enjoyed the anime overall. It's not the best out there, but it's the type of anime where you could catch a couple tears from watching it. So yeah. Then there's Banana Fish. A lot of people seem to have gotten more emotional watching Banana Fish than I did. But it's a really good story. It's got some crazy characters in it. It's not necessarily the type of story you'd expect to be heavy on the emotions, but when you get to the end of the show, it all does kind of build up to an emotional climax that, it definitely hit me, but I wasn't like weeping or anything. Whereas some people, they swear by Banana Fish as, just one of the most tragic, sad stories out there. So it's definitely worth a watch if you're looking for those types of anime, but personally, it didn't hit me as hard as it hit some other people. Then there's 5 centimeters per second. It's by the same director as Your Name. It's kind of like a collection of short stories. And when I first watched it, I feel like maybe I wasn't watching it enough, paying attention to the depth of the film, because I didn't like it that much. But now that I think about it and I've thought over what the story is telling, this story is depressing because it's almost too real. This is the type of thing where the things that happen in these short stories, they're not tragic, but they're still so sad because it's almost too realistic. It's the type of things that can happen to anyone. It's kind of about distance between people and how that distance can grow even though you're fighting against it. And it's just so relatable because, as I've grown up, you lose friends. As people grow up, we lose friends who we thought that we would stay in contact with. And so I'd say that this movie is really good at just pulling at your emotions you can personally relate to. It doesn't even have to be on a romantic level. Just, people come into our lives and then they leave an impact and then they're gone. And that's not necessarily a tragic thing, but it still hurts. So 5 centimeters per second is an excellent movie based on that thought process, you could say. So then we've got A Silent Voice. A Silent Voice is pretty sad. It's one of those things where the first half of the movie was a little hard for me to watch because it's about this kid who's bullying this deaf girl. And, just watching him bully her was just it's painful to watch, honestly. The kid had no remorse for what he was doing. And it was just very awkward for me to watch. I didn't want to see him do all that. That was messed up. But the movie is kind of about redemption, and he realizes what a piece of trash he was, and he wants to make up for the things that he did. And this movie goes on to tell one of the best like emotional stories I've personally seen. It dives into so many different issues, from bullying, depression, social anxiety. It's got everything that you'd want fit into one movie that is, it flows perfectly. You can feel completely sad. You can feel happy by the end. Like it's just one of those movies that ranges all through the emotional spectrum. And, it's a critically acclaimed film for a reason. It's that good. And you should definitely watch A Silent Voice. I mean, it's a movie. It's not going to take you that long to watch it. And you'll probably love it if you like these types of anime anyway. So then there's Erased. So I didn't like the end of Erased. I just want to put that out there right now. But it's a really good anime. 11 of the best episodes that you'll see in anime. And there's just this one scene. I mean, it's this high on the list, but there's one scene that was just so emotionally, it just hits you that hard that I was willing to put it this high on the list, because when you get to that scene, it just hurts. It's just pain. True pain right there. So wanted to put it on the list because of that one scene. It's really, really good anime, but my goodness, that one scene hit so hard. Then we've got Fruits Basket. So I just binged Fruits Basket so I could catch up and watch season 3. And it's one of those anime where like this scene right here, is comedic, but then the show can turn around and give the same characters that are just fighting some of the most tragic, depressing, lonely backstories I've ever seen in anime. So the show, it's up, then it's down, and it's up, and it's down. You're laughing at the beginning of the episode, and you're ready to cry by the end of the episode, which is why I think it's one of the best rom-coms I've ever seen. But at the same time, when the comedy goes away and the pain moves in, it's up there on like the pain chart. I feel like while I was watching it, there were multiple scenes where I just felt so bad for a character that, I probably could have cried. Like, it's like when you're like almost about to cry, but you're like, nah, maybe not this time. But it's the type of show that it'll take you all over emotions wise. And it's just a great show overall. One of the best rom-coms I've ever seen, like I said. So totally worth watching. So then there's Wonder Egg Priority. The last episode of Wonder Egg Priority comes out in June, but those first 11 episodes that dropped, I mean, this is the type of show that comes with like 15 trigger warnings when you go to watch it, because it goes over everything and it does not hold back. I mean, there are so many like traumatic things that occur in Wonder Egg Priority to the characters in the show, whether it's the main characters or the characters they interact with, that how could you not feel something while watching Wonder Egg Priority? It's a great anime. It's one of the best anime I've ever seen, honestly. But as far as emotions go, I mean, one of my friends ironically calls it like Depression Egg Friends. And, obviously that's like a little bit of a joke, but at the same time, that kind of fits, because this anime, it's just like there's no episode that holds back on the emotional scale. You'll be, when you see some of the things that have happened to these characters, it's just so painful. But I mean, that's kind of the point of like this video or this genre. It's like you go in knowing that it's gonna hurt, but for some reason that doesn't make it bad. At least that's the way I feel. I kind of enjoy those kinds of anime where it's just like, dang, that hurt, but wow, that was really, really good. Then there's I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. See, now we're moving into the ones where it's just like, ouch, like tears by the end, ouch levels. And I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, it's a movie, is definitely the first ouch out there. It's such a sad film. It's one of those things where you go in kind of ready to be hurt, and you're still not ready to be hurt by the end of the film. I loved it, and I had a friend who watched it, and they called me up and they're like, yo, have you seen this? And they sounded pretty sad, and I understand why, because it's such a great film, but at the same time, despite all the mental preparation you do for the pain, it'll still smack you easily. Great anime film. If you're looking for a little dose of pain, this will definitely get the job done. Then there's Hunter x Hunter, specifically the Chimera Ant arc. Because, you know, Hunter x Hunter overall, it's just a great anime. It's top 5 of all time, in my opinion. But the Chimera Ant arc specifically has some of the most painfully emotional scenes that I've seen in a shonen or just in anime. Like, we've reached like the top 10 basically, and Hunter x Hunter is up there with those slice of life anime that are designed to basically make you cry by the end. And out of nowhere, there's just this shonen on the list. You know, the people are fighting, but it's just, it is perfectly written. You know, every character gets a certain degree of development, and the emotions fly so high that, you know, you feel them, because it's not just like we see these random characters and then something happens to them. It's like we see the character, we get to know the character, they build up to the things that happen to the character. And, you know, I don't want to say too much because this is like the anime arc. Like, it might be the best anime arc I've ever seen, honestly. But it's also one of the most emotional arcs. I remember I finished the arc and I was just, I was practically weeping by the end of that arc. It was that good, but it definitely hits. Then there's Your Lie in April. Woo! You know, April just started, and I feel like every April comes around and people get reminded of this pain train of an anime. Again, kind of similar to I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, where you go into the anime and you're relatively prepared for the impact, but this one adds in like the musical element, and that music makes it hit so much harder. Like, the piano and the violin were the two perfect choices to crank the pain up even higher. Because I remember binging the show, and, you know, because I read like a list of like all the saddest anime you could watch, and I'm watching and I'm like, oh, this is pretty enjoyable. I never thought, you know, I'd be like into a music anime like this. And I keep watching and I keep watching, and then you move closer to those end episodes and this sense of dread kind of starts to build. And then, you know, things happen and it's just so painful, but so good. It's so good, but so painful. It's about growth, loss, so many things. And, you know, it's a great watch, and, you know, it's April, so go ahead. What do we have? Oh my gosh. Into the Forest of Firefly's Light. It's a short film. It's 45 minutes, but all this movie needs is 45 minutes to emotionally wreck you. It's really good. It's about this girl who meets this spirit who, you know, he can't be touched by humans or he'll disappear. And, you know, they become close, but at the same time, you know, they can never touch. And it's just a beautiful story, but it's a beautiful story with emotional weight that is a lot heavier than I expected. You know, I was like, oh, you know, this is gonna be a nice little chill film. I underestimated the power of 45 minutes. That, you know, because I thought, 45 minutes, I'm not gonna be able to get attached enough to like be sad if anything happens. You know, it'll be like, oh, you know, that was nice, whatever. But dang, this film it's so good. It's short and it hits like crazy. Then there's Orange. I think Orange was one of the most painful anime for me personally to watch, because, you know, this line, like, this is why I chose this picture for this anime. You know, when the character thought to himself, like, just living is the most painful thing. I've definitely been, you know, down bad, or, you know, feeling really, really down at points in life where I've thought this exact sentence before. Just living is painful. And so this one was, I mean, it's a really good story, you know, and it has some really good characters, but at the same time, it's weighty. It's a very heavy story. It's not to be underestimated. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Orange. It's definitely up there in the emotional pain scale. And it's one of those things where, like, there are certain anime where it like builds up to the emotional impact and then just smacks you. Orange to me was kind of like the type of anime that just kind of like holds you down with the weight of its emotion the entire time you're watching. It's not like it ever just like knocks you over. It keeps you down from the beginning. Once you understand what's going on in the anime, from that point on, it just feels so heavy. But at the same time, that made it one of my, favorite on this list because it's that good. But at the same time, not a lot of the ones on this list hit in that same way where like it's just consistently got a level of pain in it. Whereas a lot of these other ones, you're having a grand old time and then out of nowhere, they're just, This one, it's more like it's a decent time, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, you can never escape the pain of just the core subject of the anime. So then we have Relife. Relife was a great anime. It's about this guy who, he basically has become like a little bit of a bum. Work isn't going so well, social life not so well, and he gets kind of a second chance he becomes a part of this program where he can kind of go back to high school and learn how to be more social. And if he can complete the program, he'll get to get a job. But the catch is that everyone he interacts with will forget his existence after that year of the program. And so I'd say like character development wise, this is one of the top anime because he grows so much as he, meets these people. But at the same time, just from that explanation, I'm sure you kind of surmise why it's got, it's kind of emotionally painful, but it was also like emotionally happy. So it's a mixed bag where, you know where things are going, but at the same time, it'll still hit you anyway. I loved this anime. I loved all the characters, their personalities were just so great. And then that idea of, kind of getting like a second chance at life, but at the same time, once you're done with that, everyone will forget. But you remember meeting all of them. I think that the core plot, it was amazing. And then the anime itself was executed perfectly. Then there's Plastic Memories. I'd say out of every anime on the list, Plastic Memories is probably the worst one on this list. Because, it's not that great of an anime, but my goodness. I remember watching it, it was one of those ones where you could binge it in a day. It's 13, I think, 12 or 13 episodes. By the time you get to the end, because this is one of those ones where it's like a build up to the end. Despite the fact that I was bracing myself for impact, I just like that this one hit me really hard because they make the characters kind of relatable. Not relatable, no. They make the characters really enjoyable and you get really attached to them. So then when things, start to shift in a different direction, it just becomes so depressing. And it's funny because like as I make this video right now, I'm talking about, it's so depressing. But at the same time, that's bonus points in a video like this. Whereas a lot of the time you wouldn't want to watch something that's depressing. This is specifically, here are the anime that are going to hit you with, the big sad. So Plastic Memories is definitely up there despite its story and characters not being that great. You still become so attached and it hits pretty hard. But it's still outside of the top 5 because everyone after this one, those ones all just hit like crazy. First off, Bunny Girl Senpai. Or, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. This anime, my goodness, you're not even ready, I feel like, because, and I've said that before, but this is the type of anime where you go in, the title is completely misleading, for one. 2, you meet all these characters and, even the trailer is misleading. Like, it doesn't tell you everything that you're about to see. And you go in and you meet all these characters and they're mad cool and you're watching and everyone's having like a pretty solid time. The main character, he goes around and he's kind of helping these people out with this mysterious phenomena called puberty syndrome, where, you know, like someone's emotions get out of check, and as a result, some sort of supernatural event occurs. You know, they can create a time loop. They start disappearing from reality, and he's kind of helping them like overcome those things. But one of the puberty syndrome arcs, because it's kind of split into, you know, 2 or 3 episode arcs, it hurt so much. Like I was gathering footage for like this video, and just thinking about the arc in Bunny Girl Senpai like kind of waters my eyes, because it hurt so much. And you know, the title might kind of put you off, you know, Bunny Girl Senpai, what is that? Please overlook the title and go watch it, because it's an excellent anime with such an emotional smack, and it's one of my favorite anime for that reason. I liked all the characters, I like the story, I like the concept, but that arc, my goodness, it's just pain. You know, moving on is Violet Evergarden. I remember watching Violet Evergarden and just being like captivated by the beauty of the anime itself. The artwork is immaculate. It feels like you're watching an anime movie, because you know those have like higher budgets, so they always look a little crispier. Like Your Name is so beautiful, but like it clearly had a movie level budget. Violet Evergarden is just an anime. I don't know what its budget was, but it looks like it had a movie level budget, because it is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful things I've ever watched. But then the story just, because basically every episode is kind of a self-contained story, but it also has like a linear plot. Violet, you know, she's this girl who, you know, she fought in a war basically because she was like an orphan, kind of trained, raised as a weapon. So she doesn't really feel emotion. And as the story is going, it's set post-war, and the mail system is kind of spreading. And so she ends up working for this like group where people come to them and they will, you know, articulate what they want to be put into a letter to their loved ones, to their family, whatever. And then the people she's working with, they write out the letter in a nice, sweet, emotional way, whatever, so that it can be sent and it captures all the people's emotions. So you've got a girl who can't feel emotions working for other people who want their emotions to be captured. And so seeing Violet learn emotions was one part of the emotional impact from this story. But another thing was just the letters people wanted sent. Some of them were so painful. One of the ones, actually, I don't want to spoil it, but like one of the ones, you know, slight spoiler warning for Violet Evergarden, I won't say too much. It's like this mother is writing a letter, and while Violet is there, the daughter keeps wanting to interact with the mom, but the mom is like, oh, you have to wait, I need to write this letter. And you know, the daughter's like upset. She's like 8, you know, she's like a little kid, and she doesn't really understand like why her mom won't interact with her or whatever. And that episode, my goodness, but when because I couldn't figure out what was going on that much either. But you know, when you get to the end and you kind of figure out what's going on with the letters and the daughter and the mother and all that, phew, it hurt so much. But Violet Evergarden is an excellent anime, one of the best out there. And it has a few different episodes where, you know, since they're kind of self-contained stories, it can start fresh, but within 20 minutes, it's just 20 minutes. That self-contained story can hold the emotion of, you know, some of the anime lower on this list. One episode can hold as much emotion as an entire anime that's lower on this list. So Violet Evergarden, completely worth watching. Beautiful story, emotional, everything that you would want in this category of anime. Then there's Anohana. Anohana just broke me. Like the outro. Every time I listen to the outro, I get sad. It's one of those anime where just hearing the outro is enough to like hurt. And you know, some people, I've heard them like, you know, not like Anohana or criticize it because it's like predictably sad or whatever. But despite that, I think that it's such a good story because it's about like overcoming loss and, growing as a person. A lot of the characters, other than, the Menma, the main character, the girl, and then Jintan, the guy, a lot of the other characters, they have stuff that they need to overcome as well. And, they've grown into, maybe like jaded people because of this event that impacted them so much in their youth. And I feel like you can completely understand why they became the people they became and why they needed the things that occur in this show to occur for them to grow and move on. And it's just so sad. It's so sad. The last episode, oh my goodness, it hit me. And this was one of the first sad anime I watched, but I still regard it as one of the saddest ones I've ever watched. It was crazy. And then we've got Akame ga Kill. So the thing with Akame is this anime, it's like an action fighter, whatever. So I didn't think that it would end up that high on my list. I heard people say, Akame ga Kill, it's so tragic, whatever. So I was like, you know what, let me check this out. Because like I said, I love this type of anime. So I go out and I watch it. And for the first maybe, 15 whatever episodes, I was like, what are these people talking about? This is just a chill, action adventure anime. My goodness. The last 10 episodes, whatever, it just hurt. And then it hurt some more. And then the hurt just starts to stack so quickly. And then you're like, wait, can I get a second to breathe? And they just dump more pain on you and more pain. And it's crazy that an action and I didn't think an anime that was more focused on these fighting and save the kingdom, blah blah blah, would be this high on the list, above Anohana, above Bunny Girl. I finished the show and I was just I'm not even trying to cry. It's just streaming down my face. And then I go on, I stopped watching it. I finished the show and I go and I do something else and I think about the show and boom. And for the next 5 hours, I was just sad. Whereas, Anohana, I finished it and, give me an hour and a half. I'm good. Akame ga Kill, it was 5-6 hours before I felt emotionally stable again. Although I will say, out of everything on this list, Bunny Girl and then this last one I'm going to say, just kind of thinking about what happens in them now, months after I've watched them, those are the two that cause me the most pain. But Akame, when I watched it, it was unrivaled as far as the pain chart goes. So, if you like action, adventure, and pain, go check out Akame ga Kill. Then finally, we have Clannad / Clannad After Story. I feel like Clannad and Clannad After Story, it's investing in pain. It's a long-term investment in pain because the show's 2 seasons. The first season's really not that sad. I was like, why are people calling this isn't sad? Clannad was not that sad. You get to meet all the characters. They go on their slice of life, romance, adventures, whatever, I wouldn't exactly call it a harem, but it kind of is. At the same time, I was like, what are people talking about? Then you get to Clannad After Story. And I think what makes Clannad After Story so painful is some of these other shows, they use some supernatural thing or whatever to create the painful thing in the show. Or, they're not that relatable or whatever because it's anime. It's not really, it doesn't have to be that relatable. But Clannad, my thing about After Story was everything that happens in Clannad After Story could happen to anyone. The events of that part of the show are the type of thing that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It's so depressing. First one just horrible thing happens and that hurts right there. And then for the next few episodes, they let us kind of wallow in that pain. And then they kind of hit us with like a little bit of redemption, some, a ray of sunlight. And then they're just like, no. And it hurts so much. But like I said, it's like a long-term investment in pain, because you got to watch all of Clannad to really get like attached to the characters, to the point that Clannad After Story can like really rip your heart out and stomp on it. Some people, they've just watched Clannad After Story and they'll be like, yeah, that was pretty sad or whatever. But if you watch Clannad and you watch all the buildup and then you watch Clannad After Story, that'll hit like nothing else. It's like being run over by a tank, and then the tank backs up and you get revived and it runs over you again and again and again and again and again. Like, it's not even that great of an anime. But as far as like emotional impact, it's, to me, undefeated. And the crazy thing is, like, I had part of what happens in After Story spoiled for me. So I thought, oh, it's spoiled for me. I know that this sad thing is about to happen, so it won't hurt that much. Boy, was I wrong. And it wasn't even one of those things where like I was like crying a ton from it. It's just like, ouch, 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 ouch. The fact that this could happen to me or anyone, the thought of that is what hurts so much. But at the same time, it's definitely something you could easily just end up like weeping from. That completes the list. The only thing I would say is, don't watch all of these in a row. I watched Anohana, Violet Evergarden, and I think Plastic Memories back to back to back. I've never felt more depressed. Actually, that's not true, but like that was one of the lowest of the low points. I had to go find something funny or happy to watch after that, because I was down horrible after I went on that streak of depressing anime. So definitely, watch in moderation, unless you have like a high tolerance or whatever. Because if you watch like 2 or 3 of these in a row, it's gonna be hard to recover. And then you might not even want to watch this genre anymore. So, thanks for watching the video. If you got this far, you must really be into painful anime. You should drop a like and subscribe for more content. Peace.